Trump wants total transparency on the Epstein files, which is why he's going scorched earth to stop them from coming out. This is just another day. Today, after an epic 54-day recess, the House of Representatives finally went back to work, just in time for Thanksgiving break. Seriously, is anyone ever at the Capitol building? Because money's tight these days. Maybe they can start renting it out for bar mitzvahs or something. But the government has been shut down for nearly 2 months. We've got a midterm election just around the corner. I'm sure House Republicans were anxious to get back to pushing forward their agenda while they've still got the political clout.
House Democrats just released this morning never-before-seen emails that they say are from the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Those emails from 2011 to 2019 appear to reference his relationship with President Trump before he took office.
Sometimes we get to ease back into work after a long vacation. Sometimes we have to answer for our boss's ties to a pedophile the minute we walk in the door. Adulting, am I right? Seriously, you've got to feel for House Republicans. The same day they get back to their office, they have to barricade themselves inside of it. Because no Republican wants to answer for the damning emails that House Democrats made public this morning.
In one email from 2019, Epstein wrote to journalist Michael Wolff that Trump, quote, knew about the girls. In another exchange, Epstein wrote that the president, quote, spent hours at his house with a person who House Democrats say is one of Epstein's alleged victims.
Okay, so according to the man himself, Trump both knew about Epstein's victims and participated in victimizing them. But since when is Jeffrey Epstein the most credible guy? And come on, Trump behaving creepy around an underage girl? What would that even look like? But look, these are serious allegations, and they certainly complicate the narrative that Republicans were pushing just weeks ago.
Suddenly now, they somehow convince themselves that the Epstein files will be damaging to President Trump and Republicans in some way that they've imagined, and so they feign outrage.
There is truly no lazier way for Mike Johnson to defend his party against this accusation than by restating it in a sarcastic voice with some air quotes thrown in. Democrats believe that the Epstein files will be damaging to President Trump and Republicans. Right. And I plan to stick my penis in the pumpkin pie my wife is making for Thanksgiving because my son monitors my porn so I have no other sexual outlet. But these new emails are just the tip of the Epstein iceberg. With Congress back in session and Arizona Representative Adelita Grijalva finally sworn in after 2 months in limbo, Democrats have advanced their discharge petition to force a vote on the full release of the DOJ's Epstein files. And with so much speculation about how this information could implicate Trump, the man deserves a chance to defend himself. But he'd actually rather that his lackeys do it.
This is truly a manufactured hoax by the Democrat Party for now they're talking about it all of a sudden because President Trump is in the Oval Office. But when Joe Biden was sitting in there, the Democrats never brought this up. This wasn't an issue that they cared about because they actually don't care about the victims in these cases. They care about trying to score political points against President Trump, as we have, of course, seen with this government shutdown.
I think it's all been explained. I think this is a massive distraction by the Democrats while we're trying to get the government reopened and covered for their mistakes.
This is a hoax, a distraction. And who can spot one of those better than Donald J. Trump himself? This is the guy who invited all of Bill Clinton's accusers to his debate with Hillary just to troll her. The guy who had a photographer edit pictures of his first inauguration to make his crowd seem bigger. The guy who launched his political career by claiming Barack Obama faked his birth certificate. If hoaxes and distractions were a martial art, Trump would be Jackie Chan. But you know what? I'm going to give Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt. I mean, it's not like he spent all day calling Lauren Boebert, calling Nancy Mace, working every angle to try and get them to remove their names from the discharge petition.
The New York Times is reporting that he's calling Lauren Boebert. He's calling Nancy Mace, who is running for governor in South Carolina and would need his endorsement to clear in the primary. But he is working every angle he can to try to get them to remove their names from the discharge petition so that the bill won't come to the floor.
Let me get this straight. Trump wants us to believe there's absolutely nothing that implicates him in the Epstein files, and he spent all day calling Lauren Boebert one of the only Republicans calling for the files release. All due respect, Donald, quit jerking us around. We're not Lauren Boebert's Beetlejuice date. Still, the Trump administration insists that if they had something to hide, they'd be hiding it.
Given your interest in transparency, Caroline, why are White House officials then meeting with Representative Boebert in an effort to try and get her to not sign this petition calling for the release of the files?
Doesn't it show transparency that members of the Trump administration are willing to brief members of Congress whenever they please? Doesn't that show our level of transparency? Doesn't that show the level of transparency when we are willing to sit down with members of Congress and address their concerns? That is that's a defining factor of transparency.
You are so right, and I'm sorry for doubting your commitment to transparency for even a second. And I'm sorry, what happened in that meeting?
I'm not going to detail conversations that took place in the Situation Room in the press briefing room.
Because transparency. This is honestly crazy making. There is no point in trying to deconstruct their logic because there is no logic to deconstruct. The Trump administration is claiming they've got nothing to hide because they're being open about having meetings to bury the truth. It's like telling your wife, cheating on you? With what time? I'm too busy sneaking around in hotel rooms with random side pieces. Which, let's be real, is probably something Trump has said to Melania. By the way, while the Trump administration touts its firm belief in transparency, because remember, Trump has nothing to hide, what happens in the House if it does push forward with this bill to release the Epstein files?
Even if it does pass the House, this bill faces a very uncertain prospect, very dubious prospects. In fact, the Senate Republican leaders have shown no interest in taking this bill up. It's unlikely to get 60 votes there. And of course, Donald Trump would have to sign it into law, which he has made very clear how opposed he is to this bill.
Wow. So unless there is a veto-proof majority in Congress to override Trump's veto, none of this actually matters. That's gotta feel strange for Republicans to hear. They've ceded all their power to one person, and suddenly, one person has all the power. The point is, instead of trying to decode the Trump administration's absurd logic, let's look at the facts as we actually know them. Donald Trump got elected by promising to look out for working class people. He said he would make housing more affordable, curb inflation, bring down healthcare costs, make America good, nay, great again. And not only has he not done any of that, not only has he done nothing to address these very real problems, he shut down the government. And while everything he promised to fix was getting worse, while 42 million Americans went hungry, he threw a great Gatsby party. He went golfing. For 2 months, he couldn't find an hour to meet with Democratic leadership to help end the shutdown. But the same day that the discharge petition hangs in the balance on something that would incriminate him, then boom, within minutes, he's got Lauren Boebert in the Situation Room. When something is important to him, he gets it done, and he gets it done fast, which is to say, when Americans go without health care and food assistance, when costs surge, when inflation skyrockets, when manufacturing stalls, when job growth is flat, that's not happening in spite of his hard work. He just doesn't care enough to fix it. Don't listen to what he says, just watch what he does, because his actions constantly expose what his actual priorities are. After all,
that's a defining factor of transparency.
Exactly.